Guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm gonna talk about a very popular YouTube video out there. If we can use a beautiful flower spike like this one here, and from this one I could create 1,000 of other orchids, not really because it's a small spike, but maybe using multiple flower spikes, if I could actually create many babe orchids and having from one orchid 3 other 4 growing from it, or maybe from like 10 orchids I would have 20 or 30 cakeys. There are some popular content out there talking about it. Even I tried when I started growing orchids, and today I will explore with you this topic. I will use some research, a lot of honesty, and some information that I hope it's useful for you, and also we'll do a trial together. So without further ado, let's start. First of all, when I'm talking about creating many orchids from one orchid, we would use nodes from the flower spike. So what is a node? When I look to a flower spike, such as this one, what are we having here? The node is the part where you have like divisions here at the flower spike. One node will be composed by a triangular flap that's actually tissue that's covering meristem cells. So what are meristem cells? Meristem cells are very similar to stem cells in human bodies. Basically, from these cells here, I could create a new orchid, I could create a new flower spike, I could create, I don't know, leaves could grow out from it. It's basically that cells that we can start any other tissue from it. Like stem cells, just doing culture of these type of cells would be able to create different structures that are related to that plant. So, taking that out of the way, we know why people would use these nodes, why sometimes we see little cakes, little baby plants growing on these nodes, and also why these nodes will push out flower spikes. When these nodes push out a cakey, push out a flower spike, nothing else will sprout from these nodes. So there is no use of trying to save some of these nodes because they will probably die out over time. They will not be able to keep pushing out other structures. But with the other nodes, actually we can kind of cut just above one of the nodes, and some people will use it to encourage secondary flower spikes. And then, as you know, some Phalaenopsis are able to branch out and continues to bloom for several months. For this reason, lots of people prefer to keep the spike and just cut above the node, which is fine. Other people prefer to cut just below the node or very close to where the flower spike emerged. And some people will have, with the right conditions, some cake sprouting from the nodes as well. So these nodes, they can not only push out secondary spike, but also cakeys. Taking that out of the way, some growers will buy cake paste. So people will apply the cake paste and will hope for actually to have new cakeys. The cake paste has a hormone that I have to read the name, that is called BAP. BAP, that is benzoadenine. I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, but that's basically a synthetic plant hormone that will actually encourage the node to push out flower spikes and, most importantly, cakes. Now let's talk about some research and something that I found on Google Scholar when I was reading about the subject. There are some research out there that they used a flower spike to see if there was more probability for some flower spikes to push out cakeys than others, and they've done some experiments using some of these hormones to see what would happen with these nodes that were not used yet. They used the BAP hormone and applied on different nodes to see what would happen. What they discovered was that you have a greater chance to have a cakey sprouting from the second and the third node if you are counting actually from the base and you go to the second and third node, that these are the positions where you most likely will be able to push out a cakey from the plant. Nodes going higher up on the spike would most probably not push out cakeys. It won't happen to all Phalaenopsis out there. I've seen keikis sprouting from the top of the spike as well, but mostly in some species. But I found it really, really interesting to see some evidence based on what the spike is capable of actually producing or pushing out based on the meristem cells, which type of structure would sprout from these spikies. So after explaining to you everything that I know about flower spikes and nodes and cells, let's go and let's get really practical. What I will do, I will grab some flower spikes, the ones that are in bloom for a long time. I will cut them. I will select some of the nodes and we will actually place it inside a glass container with some moss. So I will change my camera now, I'll show you, and then I have a few things to say about it. I have one result from this kind of trial that I've done many years ago, so stay here so we can talk about some of the issues with it, what I expect to see, and what might probably happen. So I have here a couple of different orchids. Let me see which one is in focus right now. I think this one is the best one to see. Very old flower spike. This is the newest flower. As you can see, I hope you can see, all of these nodes here, they've been used before. They push out flowers, so these here. So the only nodes that I could use are the nodes below this one. So these and this one here and this one here. What I have in here is the base. So if I count 2 and 3, I would probably use these 2 nodes here to see if they will push out a keiki. This section of the flower spike, and then what I have in here is the full orchid with its node. I'm gonna come to the base, and I have in here a fresh flower spike with available nodes. All of them, they haven't been used before. They haven't not been used. They didn't push anything yet. So all of them, if you think about cells, would be able to push out a keiki or a flower spike given the right conditions. However, we don't know if that's going to be the right conditions. We'll talk about the conditions in a second, but that is my fresh flower spike. You cannot use spikes that are mushy or they are dying because it wouldn't work in any circumstance. So taking this plant out of the way, let's go to my second Phalaenopsis. This one I haven't repotted yet, so it is still on the pot that I got when I bought it. I really enjoy these flowers. I think they're so beautiful, but it's time for me to cut this spike. I think this one is one that I can use for this experience. Let's see. So I have in here the same thing. I have in here the spike, and not only that, but what I have the base is just here, and I have 2 available nodes. Only the rest has been used because it's a very small flower spike. So let me cut it from the base, and that's what I have. I have 2 nodes only. But remember that he said that usually the second and third nodes would be the best ones. So in this case, would be this one here. So now, finally, this one. This plant was repotted recently. I know that it's not super healthy because of thrips, so I can cut it, and I know that it will be fine. So I have a ton of nodes here. They all pushed flowers before. I cannot use any of them. However, I wanted to branch it out. I would have one here, but I'm not going to use it either. Same thing with this one here. Let's first of all cut this here, remove the flowers, and now let's go to the base here. Whoopsie. In this case, I have only one node. The basal node is still there, so I have only the second node. It's very green, very fine. Then place this one back. And then the last one. That's a plant that is not super healthy anyway. It has like thicker type of flowers, but let's try nonetheless. So I will do the same thing. Let's go to the base here. So this is the first cake. This one I will discard. I have second and third nodes here. I will keep them both. And this section, all of this section here, I will discard. I don't have a ton of flower spikes with nodes, available nodes, so it's very, just 4 that will definitely cut them again. So let me grab the container that I'll use and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So what I have in here, I just have a transparent cup. It's one of that massive beer mugs, actually. It will do well for what I need. So now I'm gonna grab some sphagnum moss, some New Zealand sphagnum moss. Just, oops, add it to the glass. I think it's, I don't know if I need all of this, but that will be fine. Just a ton of moss. Anyway, do you know what? I'm also gonna add some live moss. I have some live moss in here. I've been using these to keep just a little piece of a plant that never did anything to me, but I like how it looks, so I use a bit of this. It's just the same moss, wet over time, it becomes live, and I find it cute. So I'll add it just here. It's not gonna make any difference, it's just cute. So the ones that I have only one node growing, like this one here, just add it a bit like that. I have here 2 nodes, so one I'm gonna cut like maybe just here. So now I have 2 divisions. I have 1 node here, and I have another node just here. Then same thing with this one, it's a bit drier than the others. So let's insert it in here, and with this one as well. And last but not least, I have this one that's the longest one. But if I'm not mistaken, this one is just the first node. I will keep the first node in this case, and then I have 2 more nodes here. There we go, 1 more node. Let me add it inside. Let me grab water. Okay, a little bit of water here. It's just enough to keep the humidity inside this container super high. Can you see? All of this is there inside here. I will now cover it with some cling film. As you can see, 2 options here. I could just make sure that some air was circulating, but I don't think it will be necessary to do it for now. I will keep it closed, but also if you want to avoid having infections, some people prefer to dig some holes. I will grab a plant because I want to talk to you about it before. You don't need to see me, but what I'm going to do with that is I will add it in a bright space. It needs to be in a bright space. It needs to be able to photosynthesize. And also the fact that it's an enclosed space will keep the humidity super high. These spikes might not dehydrated. However, everything can happen in here. So I'm gonna grab a little plant. Why I have this tiny Phalaenopsis here? Because this one is a result of something like this. 4 years ago, after seeing this video online, I decided to give it a go. I didn't have a YouTube channel or anything. So I've done it on my own, using my own account. And I threw many spikes inside a glass container like this one here. And all of them died, but this one actually survived. This spike actually created a keiki, and I kept inside the container for many years actually. I think it stayed in there for at least 2 years. Or 3, I'm not sure now, I think 2. Yeah, it has been out for 2 years now. So from all of them, this one was the only one who survived. And the fact that I have this little baby here and it's a survivor, I was really lucky, I guess. I was a bit frustrated at the time because I remember looking into it like almost every week to see if something was sprouting, if something was growing. So what happened when this one was growing is that all of the other spikes died. And why they died? Because actually the mother plant was not there to sustain the spike and to keep feeding it. So although it was in a high humidity environment and we had the cells that were able and capable of pushing out new plants, the source of energy was gone, was depleted very quickly. So these plants, they were not able to maintain themselves. But lucky enough, this one worked, and this one actually survived, and I lost the mother plant, so I only have this one, still small, didn't bloom for me. And what I can tell you is that from something like this, if they survive, to become something like this, you need to wait and to be very patient, because from a cake that sprouts from these conditions to a mature plant that is capable of pushing out flower spikes, it's going to be at least 5 years. So keep that in mind when you try to do something like this. Let me put it back and let me change the camera so I can conclude this video. So to conclude these videos, don't believe in clickbaits Always question things that we watch online. That's very, very important. Do a bit of research. It's always fun to try yourself, but the fact that they sell like from one orchid to 100 is not actually something that will happen. So you need to be aware of these facts before you even try something like this. It's super fun. I will definitely keep these in my shelving, and I will look at these divisions from time to time. And most importantly, I will come here and I'll give you frequent updates. Maybe you can look at them each 2 months or maybe each month, depending if something is happening or not, but I'll definitely keep you updated. And you can see if actually from, I don't know how many orchids, from 3 orchids, if I will actually have at least 1 baby plant in the future. Not sure, but we definitely can check this together. So that was everything that I want to tell you today, just for you to remember, even if you have a little baby plant like this, you probably will need to wait for many years before you have a fully mature orchid. For this reason, everybody that has, when we're talking about commercial orchids, they do have other ways of propagating these plants that's definitely much quicker than putting some cake pasties on the nodes or even trying to cut the nodes. But for us that we are growing orchids at home, we can definitely try some things and maybe gonna have cute little orchids that we can give to our friends if this works. But I'm not expecting anything to grow from these tiny divisions. If something happens, I'll let you know. But that's everything. If you enjoyed this type of content, hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!